Drake signs a $400 million deal with Universal Music Group. Let's talk about it. I have talked about Drake's deal in the past on my worst deals in.
Drake just signed a deal that changed the game forever. Look, when I tell you Drake just did something that's gonna have every artist in the game rethinking their worth, I'm not playing. We're talking about a deal so massive, so unprecedented, that it's got the entire industry shaking. $400 million. Let that sink in for a second. That's not album sales. That's not streaming revenue. That's straight up one deal with Universal Music Group that's rewriting the rulebook on what it means to be valuable in this business. Before we get into how Drake pulled this off, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button on Celeb Clope right now because we're about to break down the kind of moves that separate legends from everybody else grinding for scraps. So, here's what you need to understand. This isn't just a record deal. This is ownership. This is legacy. When they say it's LeBron-sized, they're not exaggerating. We're talking recordings, publishing rights, merchandise, visual media. Everything that has Drake's name on it is now backed by one of the most powerful machines in music. And here's the thing that's got people's jaws on the floor. Drake negotiated this as a free agent. Young. At the peak of his power. Most artists wait until they're desperate or past their prime to renegotiate. Drake? He walked into that boardroom knowing exactly what he's worth. 37 million albums sold since 2014. Tens of billions, yeah, with a B, of Spotify streams. $50 million a year just from streaming alone. Those aren't just numbers. That's dominance. That's proof that when Drake drops, the world stops and listens. And Universal knows it. They knew that letting him walk would be the biggest mistake in modern music history. But let's talk about what this really means, because it's deeper than just a bag. This deal is about control. It's about Drake saying, I'm not just an artist you sign. I'm a brand you invest in. Publishing rights mean he owns his words, his melodies, his creative output. Merchandise means every hoodie, every piece of OVO gear, he's getting his cut properly structured. Visual media projects? That's movies, documentaries, content creation. Drake's building an empire that doesn't stop when the music does. And if you're still watching but haven't subscribed to Celeb Clope yet, what are you waiting for? We bring you the real stories behind the headlines, the business moves that matter, the culture shifts you need to know about. Tap that button. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Drake's bargaining power didn't come from nowhere. It came from strategy. See, most artists sign their lives away when they're hungry, when they're young and desperate for a shot. They give up everything, masters, publishing, creative control, just to get in the door. Drake played it different. He built his value systematically. He proved his worth album after album, year after year, until he became irreplaceable. By the time he sat down to negotiate this deal, Universal wasn't negotiating with a hopeful artist. They were negotiating with an institution. And that net profit split? That's where the genius really shows. Most record deals are structured where the label takes the lion's share and the artist gets whatever's left after recoupment. Drake flipped that. He negotiated terms that actually favor him, plus a massive advance that most artists could only dream about. That's what happens when you come to the table with leverage. But this isn't just about Drake. This is a signal to the entire industry. The Weeknd already followed suit with a similar deal with Universal. These artists are showing the next generation that you don't have to accept bad terms just because that's how it's always been done. You can build your value, prove your worth, and demand what you deserve. Think about what this means for hip-hop culture specifically. For decades, we've watched artists get exploited, watched labels get rich, while the creators stayed struggling. Now we're seeing a shift. Artists are becoming business people. They're understanding that talent is just the entry point. You need strategy, you need leverage, you need to know your value, and refuse to settle for less. If you're getting value from this breakdown, show some love to Celeb Clope and subscribe. We keep you plugged into what's really happening in hip-hop, not just the surface-level gossip. The question everyone's asking now is, what does this mean for the business model of music? Are we watching labels transform from owners to partners? Because that's essentially what's happening here. Universal isn't buying Drake. They're investing in partnership with him. They're betting that giving him favorable terms and control will pay off more in the long run than trying to own every piece of him. And here's the cold truth. They're probably right. Artists who feel valued, who have control, who aren't fighting their label every step of the way. They create more. They stay longer. They build bigger. Drake's deal might actually be the smartest investment Universal makes this decade, even at $400 million. This is the new era. This is what power looks like when you refuse to give it away cheap. Drake didn't just sign a deal, he made a statement. He told every artist watching, know your worth, build your leverage, and never accept less than what you've earned. That's the game right now. And if you want to stay ahead of every move, every deal, every shift in hip-hop culture, you already know what to do. Celeb Clope is where you get the truth, unfiltered and uncut. Subscribe and keep your finger on the pulse because we're just getting started. The industry's changing and you're going to want to see what happens next.